Hey YouTube, I'm back with another set of deck profile videos. So this time I'm going to be going over Oracle Think Tank. So I already posted the Witch Oracle Think Tank build, which I did get some feedback on. People were saying to not run No and I think it was Gaga or the Grade 2. So I did change the deck a little bit, but I don't think it's really worth posting it again. Mainly the main thing that changed was No was taken out, and I think I kept Gaga. Yeah, I kept Gaga because I put the 10k in and took out the draw card guy and put him in my Oracle deck. Oracle deck meaning the Susano and another deck, which I'll be posting in another video. But so we're mainly going to focus on the Magus, the Battle Sisters, and the Oracle. I call this deck Oracle, but it's really like the GB2, you know, the GB2 deck. So in this case, it's Susano. So I guess for today we'll do the Susano one first, since it's the generic one. So we already did Witches, which is actually what I consider the Soulless build. So compared to Soulless OTT, Susano and the other backup grade 3 that you'll see here shortly is the opposite. So this is the one that builds soul. This is the one that like empties the soul and plays with no soul. So for this deck, for Supreme Heavenly Battle Deity Susano, it's a pretty decent GB card. Honestly, I really feel like a lot of OTT, especially the way they're moving the deck to playing, where a lot of the effects require you to have 5 or more cards in hand, does sort of make the deck a little bit more difficult to play, because you do have to maintain like a reserve of 5 cards in the deck or in hand, if you want to get those big effects off. So it's really weird how they're trying to change the game mechanic for the clan, but I don't know, it might introduce some interesting stuff later on. So for now, for Susano, if you're building the deck, you want to run 4 of this, it's the GB2. For grade 3, for the alternate, I went with 2 CEO Amaterasu. She was like the first Oracle Think Tank deck that I built. A lot of people, when I got into Vanguard, were going Soulless build. I went with the original style. So 2 Amaterasu. You can run 4, but I am running the Legion. So Goddess of the Treasured Mirror, Oruhime. This is kind of a good backup because I feel like if you do not have Susano, you can still fall back to this. And if you don't want to run, if you don't even have the Legion, you can just run 4 of her. Because she does have the Mega Blast, which you probably will never be able to use, but it's worth mentioning that she could use the Mega Blast skill as a rear guard, not just a Vanguard. So that's the grade 3 lineup I went with. There's other reasons why I feel like Amaterasu and the Legion play is useful in here, because the deck does draw quite a bit, so Legion can help prevent deck out, and there's other cards that it works decent with. Next, for grade 2s, I am running 4 Imperial Shrine Guard Akage. This is the Glimmer Breath Dragon clone for Susano. So it's a new card from set 5. A really dirt cheap card, really easy to get. So if you're playing Susano, you may want to pick this up. But it's not really necessary. Like if you only can build one OTT deck, Silent Tom is definitely a better pick to go with, because it can potentially be an entire win condition. I am running 4 Diviner Kuroi Kazuchi. So he's your generic Amber clone. And then 3 of the Rigid Crane. So this is a new card they got that has the Oracle skill, the GB1 Oracle skill. Basically, if you've got 5 or more cards in your hand, he's an 11k attacker, and when he hits, he can countercharge 1 and soul charge 1. So he does help with you trying to get the Mega Blast play, because he does unflip. The Legion thing does also unflip if you're using the Legion. So this potentially works with if you're not on Susano. This doesn't, but it is worth mentioning. If you stride into the Susano stride, which the deck actually does run, you can still use this even if your Heart Vanguard at the time is one of those 2. For grade 1s, I am running the 4 Arbitrator. I guess it's Arbiter. Whatever. It's the G Perfect Guard. and then 4 Stride Enabler, because it's a Susano deck. You want to stride as much as you can, so we just max the copies of this. And then 4 of the new Oracle card for Susano. So when it boosts, if you have a Vanguard with Susano in the name, you can Soul Blast 1 and he becomes a 10k booster. So it's useful when you're on Susano, but not useful if you're using the Legion. So you could potentially only run like 3 of this. I don't like that it's Soul Blast, but most games, it plays the same deck. Most games you will be on Susano, so you will be able to use this. It does help, like with him in front, for example. This becomes 21, or even on turn that you're playing his effect, then this will be 21 as well. So for Susano, strictly for Susano, it works, but with Amaterasu as Vanguard, it doesn't really work. So it might require a little bit more fine-tuning. Maybe when you drop one of these, maybe put in Weather Girl Milk at 1 copy or something. And then the last grade 1, I am trying this new Tank Man mode, Morning Star. This is only useful when you have a really big hand, because it does require you to put a card from the top of the deck, or put a card from your hand, reveal it, just choose one, grade 1 or greater, put it on the top of the deck, shuffle the deck, soul charge 1, and then you can unflip. So it's, I can see it being some weird card for trying to do like a clutch play with Mega Blast, but again, the Mega Blast, I keep mentioning that, even though the Mega Blast is really not something that you'll expect to do. But it's just worth noting that this card and Rigid Crane, in my opinion, they actually do help the Legion deck function. So for the triggers, 4 of the Divine Sword Kusanagi. This is the Susano personal critical trigger. It is very easy to obtain, so I'll play a set of this. So because nobody really cares about Susano, so I recommend getting them right now while they're really cheap. 4 Psychic Bird. This is in like every single Oracle Think Tank deck that I have. And then 4 Dive Eagle, just 8, so basically 12 critical. And then 4 Losange Magus, because it's the best OTT heal trigger. I think there's only like 1 OTT deck that I have that is not using this as the heal trigger. And then the starter is Magical Calico. Originally, I built the deck using Little Witch Lulu, and then quickly found out that she does not work as the starter in this deck because you have so many things that require Soul Blasting 1, particularly the Susano cards. So Little Witch Lulu doesn't really work in here, so you're forced to actually play a different starter. So Magical Calico is the right choice. It's an interesting card because it's kind of like Painful Choice from Yu-Gi-Oh! So basically what you do is you put in the soul, GB1 skill, it's Oracle, so you have to have 5 cards in hand already. You put it in the soul, you pick 3 cards from the deck, and then you show it to the opponent. The opponent chooses 2 of them to send to the drop zone, and then you get to keep the other card added to your hand. So it really works well with the Legion, surprisingly, because the Legion can just throw those cards back into the deck anyway. So it can play mind games. If you're running Silent Tom, it's an interesting card. So yeah. For those wondering why Silent Tom's not in here, Silent Tom is still in my Soulless build. I only got 4 copies of him. And in playtesting all these OTT decks, the Witch deck is by far the weakest one without Silent Tom, so I kept Silent Tom in there to try to buff the deck a little bit. So for the Stride deck, 2 Dragon Destroyer Battle Deity Kamu Susano. So this card is probably like the cheapest triple R Stride unit that I've ever seen. Really nobody wants it, mainly because Bushiroad messed it up and made the attack, or made his effect where he has the hit of Vanguard. He can be splashed into other OTT decks that don't run Susano. But I think the reason why, if I have to justify why they made the effect have to hit, is because they assume that everybody's running Silent Tom in OTT decks, and Silent Tom prevents you from using a grade 0 to guard. So this guy, it's like, typically you want to save your perfect guards for the Silent Tom, so you're more inclined to potentially no-guard this guy if you know, if the opponent knows you have a Silent Tom. Of course, since I'm not running Silent Tom, that's completely irrelevant in here, but it's still worth mentioning. Next, I am running the 4 Sword Deity of the Thunderbreak, Take Mikazuchi, because he's still like the best stride that they have. And he doesn't have to hit. He has a main phase effect. He basically look at 4 cards on the top of the deck and add 2 of them to your hand and put the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. So really good at just giving you 2 cards, which is basically a net +1 when you think about it. But yeah, pretty good. And then 1 9-headed Dragon King just to fix hand, but this is really not really all that useful in here. And then 1 Kirin. So my suggestion, if you don't have this card, you don't really need it, you can run Blizza, because Blizza is still a pretty good first stride in here if you're on Susano, just to open up the GB2 skill. So it is worth mentioning that. You can potentially first stride this guy, but I really don't recommend it, because his GB3 skill is pretty good in here, because it's pretty good because I don't run Silent Tom again, so you can hit like 21k columns and stuff. So with your 11k guys. So that was basically my Susano OTT deck. I call it the generic OTT deck, or the soul-based OTT deck, because it runs Amaterasu. So let me know what you guys think of combining these two in the same deck. And looking forward to your comments on the deck, and stay tuned for more Cardfight Vanguard videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.